there was a lot of goals and a lot of big games that were playing in match week number 28. But unfortunately, we have to start talking about this match where the Sounders, of course, won 3-1 against Sporting KC, and the goals in this game were Diaz, Zuzi, Ladero, and the only goal for Sporting KC was Diego Rubio scoring. But the big controversy in this game was this: the Chad Marshall red card, and how everybody says that it was not a red card, and that Toledo, once again, with a classic kind of move, decided to be trigger happy and decided to send somebody off in a game. And when I look on the replay of that, and I did look at it a couple of times, I do have to agree with people saying that this is not a red card. And in my opinion, this is probably one of the most ridiculous red card of the year. And there's been a lot of ridiculous red card, and I'm not going to just say this is the most ridiculous red card because of that, but this was right up the scale of just ridiculous, and that I think certainly the Sounders will appeal this, and I'm pretty sure Disco will overturn this, and Chad Marshall won't be suspended in the next match. But this was just a ridiculous red card. I mean, when you look at it on the play, Chad Marshall clearly won the ball after when he was challenging Johnny Russell for the ball. He tried to take the ball away from Johnny Russell, and although he did kind of hit the shin pad of Johnny Russell there, he clearly got the ball, and on the play it just looked like it was just kind of a fair, clean kind of challenge. But yet somehow Toledo, like I said, he is a referee that is known for being trigger happy in terms of getting a red card, which is why in the last game between the Quakes and the Whitecaps, well, actually 2 games ago when he was refereeing our game, and how I did say that, I got to take a look later tonight whether or not if that was a penalty or if we kind of got gifted with a penalty, because, Toledo, he's a very kind of dodgy ref, and it's shown once again here. And again, I have to keep repeating this every single week, and I'm kind of getting tired of it, and I'm pretty sure you guys are getting tired of it. Pro got to do something with their referee. Like, this stuff should not be happening every single week, and the fact that it's still happening, and after everyone have been talking about it and the increasing pressure that Pro is on, they're still making the same mistake. It's almost as if right now, it's kind of like every single week we just got to kind of look at that and just be angry about them, but Pro is not going to do anything about it because they just think that, okay, yeah, we make that mistake, we'll make sure we won't make it again, when they will definitely make it again in the next match week. So yeah, unfortunately, certainly I think in this situation, like I said, I think this is going to be appeal and should be overturned. If this was not overturned, then Sounders fan will be up in arms and they will really be angry about that. But the good news for the Sounders is that this red card didn't really cause them to lose the lead. They were up 3-1 in this game, and they were definitely looking comfortable in this game. And the Sounders, they are just red hot right now, and if some of you might think that it's deja vu again, and that the Sounders is going to not only have a second half resurgence, but they could potentially run the table and basically reach to the Western Conference final. Or not the Western Conference final, but the MLS Cup final, that is. And when you look at the Western Conference, it's not a very strong conference. It has a couple of decent kind of team in it, but that's about it. And if you're one team like the Sounders right now that is red hot, yeah, they can easily just run the table and get into the MLS Cup final again. And if they do that, that would really just again stun everybody, including myself. And I was one of those many people that say that they were done in June and that they need to rebuild, and here they go again with a resurgence, and here they go again of potentially making what they did a year ago, and also the previous year ago, and basically they're doing it for the third year in a row. And as for Sporting KC, yeah, it's a disappointing loss, but at the same time, it's definitely been a pretty good run for Sporting KC, and they just need to rebound in the next game, and hopefully this won't be a game where they will start on a losing run. And that's what I kind of fear about Sporting KC now, because this is usually the time where Sporting KC does go on a very bad run heading into the playoffs, and when they go into this bad run down the stretch, even though they're going to make the playoffs, when playoff time comes, they will collapse. And that is what I fear about this team. And hopefully it won't happen this year like what it has last season and also the previous season, but we shall see. But moving on into the next match, Montreal. How about a big win against the Red Bulls? 3-0, and in a game that the Red Bulls pretty much started a pretty strong squad. I know some people say, well, they did not have Tyler Adam and Tim Parker and also Michael Murillo on there, but they still have BWP and Danny Royer on their team, and I thought that attacking threat would definitely expose that Impact's defense, but instead, that wasn't the case, and Montreal in this game, they look like they really want to make the playoffs. I mean, the amount of energy and the amount of fight that this team got in this game, it just kind of shows you that they, even though they have played the most game, and even though they're kind of dangling around the 6th spot and potentially is going to get knocked out by those two teams that are chasing them, which is TFC and DC United, they just don't care. They want to get this win, and in some way they really needed to get this win, considering the fact that DC, which a little bit spoiler alert for you guys, also won this weekend. But overall, Fanny, Sanya, and also Piatti scoring in the goal. Piatti actually scored a goal in the 76th minute, but it was disallowed because it was offside. So it's good to see that he at least did deserve a goal in this game, because, whenever Montreal does win a game, usually Piatti either get an assist or get a goal in this game, which is what exactly happened. And yeah, overall, this was a very impressive performance for Montreal. And for the Red Bulls, yeah, this was not a good performance. And you could argue this might be one of the worst performances by the Red Bulls. And certainly, it's kind of surprised why the Red Bulls was this bad, considering the fact that Chris Armour rested some of his most important guys in the last game, and coming into this game they brought in the guys that were rested in the midweek, and they just did not look like the same team that they were in the midweek game when they beat Houston 1-0 at home. But moving on, New England with a 1-1 draw against the Portland Timbers. Goals in this game, Scott Caldwell in the 58th minute and Olam with the goal in the 70th minute. And there's really not much to talk about this game because it wasn't really a very entertaining game. The only thing that I will say about this game is that the Timbers should have won this one. I mean, Milano, how in the world did you miss that? He probably had one of the worst miss you will ever seen this year in MLS, of how the ball was literally put on a platter by Sebastian Blanco, and Milano just completely just missed the ball, and he was literally 3 yards out, and all he had to do was just get his feet on the ball and tapped it in, and instead the ball just goes right by him. And I think he also didn't even attempt to shoot that one, so I don't know exactly why he did not decide to shoot that one. Like, you are 3 yards out. I mean, you're gonna have to basically try to tap the ball into the back of the net. And when I look at it also for the second time today, it didn't look like that ball was actually behind him. It was right there, and he just decided to let it go, almost like he's a defender or something like that. But either way, certainly I don't think this result really kind of will satisfy both teams. For New England, their playoff hope, if it wasn't dead now, it is pretty much dead, even though they're in that 7th position. And for Portland, it doesn't really help them in terms of getting a little bit away from teams that is below them, that is the Whitecaps, although they do have a game in hand over the Whitecaps, but they only have 1 point lead over them between 6 and 7 spot. But yeah, moving on into another game that, I'm not going to really spend a lot of time talking about, but Orlando City, of course, with a 2-2 win or a 2-2 draw against the Union. I mean, for a second, I think Orlando City fans thought that they finally won a game, but nope, they drew this one, and in some way they kind of got lucky to drew this one because the Union, of course, were up 2-1. Corey Burke, who cannot stop scoring right now, scored another one. Fafa Pico scored in the 88th minute, and at that point it looked like Orlando City was dead and buried. But another guy that just cannot stop scoring right now, Scott Sutter, scored a goal in the 91st minute. But despite the late goal from Orlando City to salvage a draw at home, that doesn't really help their playoff chances. And like New England, their playoff chances is pretty much dead and buried. And I think Orlando City fans can kind of agree that. And in fact, the stadium for this game, or the attendance for this game, surely has to be very low, and probably the lowest attendance in an Orlando City game, because there was so many empty seats. Like when the game kicked off, you can see the whole Orlando kind of wording in the stands there, and I mean that just pretty much tell you that some of the fans are pretty much giving up on the team, and I don't really blame them for giving up on the team. This team is just really bad right now. I mean, and it won't be long before they would be one of those teams that is going to be eliminated for playoff contention. But moving on, in terms of the next match, Columbus with a 2-1 win against NYCFC. So I said Columbus, they were kind of in a little bit of a sticky situation of the fact that once again they find themselves with just a 1-point gap between 4th and 5th, and it looked like the Union was going to take their spot, and it looked like the Crew was going to be in big trouble again to drop down to that 5th spot. But they get a big win against NYCFC. Afro and also Justin Merrim, who scored his first goal since returning from Columbus, or from Orlando City to Columbus. NYCFC did get a goal to Jari Shradi with the lone goal in this game, but overall Columbus was pretty much just dominating this game. This game could have been maybe 3 or 4-1 if Columbus just not able to, if Columbus could just put those chances away and does not just waste those chances away. But overall, it is a big win for Columbus, and I think now they have built up a 3-point gap between themselves and the Union. And although it's still not a very manageable gap between them and also oh my god, I just had a brain for a moment, but themselves and also the Union, it's still a pretty manageable gap. And as I said before in the preview, it is huge that Columbus will get that 4th spot. Consider the fact that as things stands, Columbus would be the one that will be hosting Philly for that first round game in the Eastern Conference playoff. But anyway, moving on to the next one, Dallas with a 4-2 win against the Dynamo. This is the first time that the Texas Derby actually had a winner in 6 games, which is quite remarkable considering how long it's been since both of these two hated rival actually have one team victorious. But Dallas was able to get the win here, and certainly this is a good win for them considering the fact that they just come off a loss against San Jose, and it was a short week for them to prepare for this game. But it's a good bounce back win for them. Barrios, another guy that just cannot stop scoring right now. Mascara with another brace. Ziegler with the goal in the 58th minute, which was actually a penalty kick goal. Manotas and Elise with the goals for Houston. And yeah, like I said, it was a good win for Dallas. Dallas was by far the better team in this game. And for the Dynamo, the misery just continues. And yep, they're pretty much done in terms of playoff contention. And it's not. There's really not much I can say about Houston now. I mean, right now Houston are kind of in a stretch where they are experiencing a losing streak that they have not experienced they have not experienced a losing streak this bad in the entire part of the season. I mean, we usually see Houston maybe like lose 1 or 2 games because they've blown leads and stuff like that. But now they are finding ways that they lose game just because they are not good enough for the full 90 minutes. And this was the case against Dallas. But meanwhile, moving on into the next game, and another game that ended 4-2. LAFC, 4-2 win against TFC. Vela, of course, with the brace, although the first goal, you could kind of argue that should have been a goal for Diego Rossi, because Diego Rossi actually shot that one, and it took like 2 different deflections. It took a deflection off of one of the TFC defender, and then it took a deflection off of Vela, and of course Vela get the credit of the goal because that he last touched off of that goal. But Rossi, of course, did get his goal in the 47-minute. Gwyn, of course, got another one in the 49th, and then Vela with just an impossible angle goal in the 94th minute. Probably a goal that could potentially be the goal of the week this week. And yeah, LAFC with a very good win against TFC. And remember how I said that in the preview, Greg Vanney's going to have a lot of questions to ask with the fact that if they lose this one because they decide to rest some guys for that Portland Timbers game, yeah, I better believe that he's going to have a lot of question asked after this game, and there's going to be a lot of difficult questions for him to answer. And in many ways, TFC, I think for part of the game, they definitely looked like they were the better team. But the problem for TFC in this game is that they just could not put the ball into the back of the net. They were not very clinical. There was a couple of chances that they could have easily put the ball into the back of the net. And if those goals does win into the back of the net, then this game could be a little bit different. TFC might be able to get a draw or even a win in this game, but because they didn't do that, they lose this one. And right now, with the fact that Montreal did win over the weekend, TFC is in a heave of trouble now. And I think you could kind of say, and I think this is probably the first time I will say it all season long, they could be officially or unofficially eliminated from the playoffs. I mean, they're 9 points back, and I know they have a game in hand over Montreal, but they're 9 points back of Montreal, and they have 7 games left to play, and those 7 games are not going to get any easier for TFC. So yeah, I think they're probably done in terms of playoffs. And to just quote on Greg Vanney saying that they need to win 6 of their 9 games, well, now you have to win 6 of 7 because you just lost those 2 of those 9 games that you're quoting and saying that you need to win 6 of those. But yeah, meanwhile, moving on to the next match, and wow, RSL for the second week in a row put up a 6 spot, and it's deja vu all over again between RSL and the Galaxy. So remember how last year, I think it was on the 4th of July, RSL with a 6-2 thumping of the Galaxy at StubHub Center? Well, guess what happened in this match? Exactly the same score, although this time it is at Rio Tinto Stadium. And remember how I said in the preview of how I said that, the Galaxy defense looked really good in that LAFC game, but they definitely need to kind of show up in this game if we want to say that they probably kind of turn a corner. Yeah, after this game, it's pretty clear that they not only did not turn a corner, but it just got a whole lot worse. And, if the Galaxy from what happened a couple of games ago where they lost 5-0. And if that wasn't rock bottom for them, this is truly rock bottom for them. I mean, 6 goals conceded in this game. Rusnak with a brace, Krylak with a hat trick, and Savarino, of course, with a goal in the 48th minute. And surprisingly, the Galaxy actually took a lead in this game with a goal from Dos Santos just 34 seconds in. But, you know, after that, it was pretty much a massacre. Alessandrini did try to make it interesting when the game was at 4-2, but, you know, RSL was just continue to try to get more goals and continue to put on more embarrassment for the Galaxy. And yeah, I mean, this resort, you kind of will say that we will probably now know who exactly is going to be finished in that 6th spot and who is going to be making the playoffs. I said that, you know, coming into this game, these are the 2 teams that I really think they're kind of like on the outside end in terms of making the playoffs, and one of those teams were going to make the playoffs and one of them will not make the playoff, depending on which team win. And with RSL winning tonight and the Galaxy losing, and the Galaxy has a 6-point gap of RSL, and I believe a 1-point gap, or not a 1-point gap, a 2-point or 3-point gap of Portland and the Sounders, but they have the Sounders and the Timbers have 2 games over the Galaxy. Yeah, they are pretty much done. And with the defense that they have so far, yeah, you better believe that they are done. And I won't be surprised if there is going to be some firing this offseason. Obviously, I have heard a lot of Galaxy fans saying that they want Ziggy Schmidt to get out of that club, and yeah, definitely looked like potentially that might happen in the end of the season. And also the fact that probably they need to completely torn down that back line again, which, yeah, it's crazy that they have to completely torn up the back line again, consider they just rebuilt the back line this season and it still looked absolutely garbage. And also one more thing about this game, and I know some people will say that the 6-goal scored by RSL was all because of the fact that there was actually a duck that was just on the field in the 20th minute, and that they literally had to spend 4 minutes or 5 minutes to get that duck out of the pitch, and they had like 4 other kind of stewards trying to get that duck off the field. And some RSL fans, and I'm pretty sure every RSL fans, are saying that that probably is the thing that bring them good luck. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I don't really believe in superstition and kind of just conspiracy in MLS and stuff like that, but maybe that might be a superstition that RSL might have. And if that is the case, then whenever the Galaxy played the Quakes next time, I think the Quakes can just bring like 20 duck on the pitch, and just that will be a way that we can potentially beat the Galaxy in a Cali Clasico. I don't know. I mean, it's just some silly kind of conspiracy and also kind of superstition. But speaking of the Quakes, they of course lost 2-1 to Vancouver, and because they lose 2-1 to Vancouver, they are now officially eliminated from the playoffs, and they become the first team to be eliminated from the playoffs. And this is not unofficial, this is official. The Quakes are out of playoff contention, and I already made a video about that. I actually made it literally about an hour after the game was over, and that of course is my first episode of the Going Forward series, so make sure you guys check that out. But yeah, in this game against the Whitecaps, yeah, this was just a typical Quakes performance. Nobody showed up in this game. Just completely play into the Whitecaps' hands in this game. And just, you know, this time it wasn't just us that did not play well or switch off for 9 minutes that cost us the win. It was pretty much the whole 90 minutes that we just switched off and didn't really play. And I just don't understand what was the point? Like, what was the tactics for this game for Starhay? And also, why in the world did Starhay decide to go with a 4-2-3-1 formation when you have two striker on the team, and that he decided to put Wando in the left mid? Yeah, he decided to put Wando in the left mid, even though Jameer Hika is the real left mid and he's on the bench. I mean, that is one of the many reasons why I say Starhay has to go at the end of the season, and that if this is not a reason for us to now really just play the kids and just do whatever we want to try to make the team better for the rest of the season, since now we're eliminated from the playoffs, I don't know what is. I mean, maybe I shouldn't be attending any more Quakes games. Maybe they will start playing the kids and start winning again. And heck, that did happen with me not attending a game, and they won that game. But for Vancouver, this is certainly a good win for them, and they, of course, continue to stay in the chase of trying to chase down RSL for that playoff spot. Despite the fact that they are 4 points back of RSL, I think Vancouver has a game in hand over RSL. Although, even with that game in hand, and if RSL win that game in hand, they will still be 1 point back. But they're still in striking distance of RSL. And right now, it kind of feel like right now, the Western Conference, in terms of that sixth spot, could potentially determine by either Vancouver or RSL actually going to make the playoffs. And I gotta also double check to see if they play each other again this season. I'm assuming they are going to play each other once more this season, and if that's going to happen, that is really the game that could determine who's going to make the playoffs and who is going to miss the playoffs. But speaking of playoffs, DC United, they keep pace of Montreal in terms of the playoff hunt, and they continue to try to push their way into the playoffs and stay or go up into the red line, or not the red line, but above the red line. But they got a 3-1 win over Atlanta, and certainly this was an unexpected win because Atlanta was coming into this game red hot, and you would think that Atlanta should be able to win this one. And after what happened to DC United over the Union, and how I thought that game could potentially be the game that might end it, the hope for DC United, consider that was a 6-pointer for them, and that was a must-win for them, and they didn't win that game. They didn't even get a draw in that game, but in this one, they did get a win, and I thought this was a team that looked like they really wanted to make the playoffs in this game. Like, they were really hungry. They were by far the better team. They absolutely outrun Atlanta in this game. And Wayne Rooney, of course, as usual, play a big part in this game, with all 3 of the goals were because of Wayne Rooney. Both of the goals that Lucio Acosta scored is off of Wayne Rooney assist, and Rooney himself also got a goal in this game off of a penalty. And Atlanta, of course, the only goal in this game was Larenovic in the 39th minute, which means that because that's the only goal for Atlanta, and that Larenovic actually scored the only goal for Atlanta in this game, this means that for the first time in 10 games, somebody not named Joseph Martinez actually got on the score sheet. Or actually, let me just say it in a better way. A team actually stopped Joseph Martinez from scoring a goal, and I think he was going to break the record of the players that score at least a goal in most of the consecutive game, and I think he's going to break that record from Diego Valeri from last season, because I remember Valeri got like 9 goals in a row, or nine games in a row with a goal. But DC, of course, stopped them for doing it, and I think last season it was also the Quakes that stopped Diego Valeri from getting his 10th game in a row with a goal, and in this game it was DC United that does that. And just overall, I just think DC United, they were by far the better team in this game. And they certainly show a lot of hunger that they want to potentially make the playoffs. Although they are still in a position where they still have a lot of games coming up. And that, even though this is a big win for them, they need to stay focused because there's just so many games and so many games that is in a short span that they need to play if they can potentially make the playoffs. And as for Atlanta, well, this was a huge missed opportunity for them to be in a very good spot of going to win the Supporters' Shield because of the fact that the Red Bulls lost to Montreal in that game on Saturday. Atlanta had a chance to retake the lead and get a game in hand over the Red Bulls in the Supporters' Shield race, but instead they didn't take advantage of that, and now they're still 1 point behind of the Red Bulls, although they are still in the driver's seat of winning the Supporters' Shield because they do have a game in hand over the Red Bulls. But yeah, that is pretty much it for my match review of match week number 28. Let me know in the comments below, what do you think of this match week? And as usual, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you do, make sure you guys leave a like, smash that subscribe button. And also, as usual, I will of course be making my power rankings on Monday tomorrow. And yeah, I am going to see you guys next time.